much. I wonder if you would mind doing a little thing for me. And look around while you're doing it. I'm going to ask you to raise your hand if you have more than one tolerably good language. So not necessarily at a very high level, but for conversation, for communication, for empathy, for sympathy. If you have more than one language, please put your hand up. And look around. Now, if you have more than 2 languages, keep your hand up. If you have more than 3 languages, mine has to go down there. If you have more than 3 languages, keep your hand up. Look at that. Brilliant. Anybody still standing with 4? Ooh. And have we got any 5? Have we got 5? Yeah. Brilliant. Have we got 6s? Have we got any 7s? Well, that was brilliant. I think we should applaud them for that. So this is the richness in this room. And I wish to just return to languages at the very end. I want to thank Fedactio. I have come with the Dialogue Society to be spoiled and pampered and to enjoy this amazing ability to bring people together. It's always a delightful surprise to meet people who are doing cutting-edge work and who've been brought together, in this case by Fedactio, and people from whom I feel enriched. I feel like I'm going to go away back on Eurostar tomorrow afternoon feeling that I know a lot more and that it was worth knowing and that it will improve my work. So Fedactio, obviously like Dialogue, has this gift of bringing people together, and this gift will help the future of Europe. Just briefly, if I may address this term social capital. Social capital is the idea that together we are much stronger than if we retain separateness. And Fedactio indeed is living proof of that. I think it's also part of the fight to reject this sort of solitary consumerist model that a philosopher like Putnam presents us with, this idea of bowling alone, which instead of bowling in a team, we have turned into, in the developed world, solitary animals who bowl alone. And this is completely the opposite of what Fedactio stands for. I want to congratulate Fedactio on the programme. It was lovely to visit Bruges. It was also very exciting. I'm sorry if I sound like a schoolgirl, but I found it very exciting to visit the European Parliament today. It was magnificent, extraordinary building, very interesting. I do also, however, want to ask you to consider what we can do together as a result of hearing about MyPEX and PISA. They are 2 data sets of considerable value. I agree with that, and I'm very glad to have heard about them in more detail than I knew about them before. But I think the value of such material can only be fully developed if and when we engage with it fully and challenge it fully. Using the term immigrant as a descriptive term and as a category, it was done in a statistician's manner. It was done simply as a tag. But we know it's not a tag. It's not simply a term. It's a word with baggage. It's a term which I think, as a philosopher, I would say creates a category error in that we are using a word inappropriately. We're calling this phenomenon of movement by a name which has got so much loading, so much potentially negative meaning, that we really need to rethink the issue. How can this be done? Well, there are many ways of which you here today are living proof. And the fact that we've been brought together to carry this forward. Obviously the term New European is quite pleasant, it's quite attractive. But it does sound to me a little bit like a term which has been used so we can avoid using the term immigrant. So maybe it's not the final solution. I think the very least we can do is what I'm modelling for you here this very moment, which is to say, let's challenge this terminology. Let's look at the figures, let's enjoy what they tell us, let's critique that body of knowledge, and let's be very cautious about this sort of language. Because if we start in the wrong place, we can't get to a happy solution, although you are all living proof that this can be done. So I'm happy to accept that the deficit model is perfect for seeking a scapegoat, or keeping awareness of self-entitlement at a minimum, and this was not the intention of the researchers who presented today at all. But it is also up to us to challenge that language. So we have to try and support Fedactio and dialogue to continue demonstrating excellent role models. We need to work towards being new Europeans, as men and women, and I want to say a little bit about women. As a woman, I think I can say that women do bear major economic burdens. With the coming recession, this will become more exaggerated. They are mothers and they are daughters, and they want to be able to work alongside men as equals, equal and different. I think we probably see this in a country like modern Belgium, although I've only been here for 36 hours, so that's hubris really of me to say that, but it feels moderately okay. I think we want to see it in Turkey, but we also want a two-way traffic. We want to be able to engage with the best that the wonderful Turkish women we've met here yesterday and today demonstrate. We want to use them as an example to challenge this rather loose and confused sort of secularism which many of my contemporaries and many of my contemporaries' children can't see an alternative to. So the woman is still, in many parts of Northern Europe, seen as a sexual object, a consumable object. So there needs to be a two-way traffic. We can learn from Turkish communities about womanhood. And I think the suggestions for how to proceed in this way must come from the women, from the men, from their children, who guide the policymakers. And here's where, in concluding, I just want to remind you about the language models. Today we've heard about inspirational ways of using language sensitization to make children at school aware of other cultures and other ways of thinking. So certainly new language models, certainly new curriculum models. I've been working myself in research where British Muslims develop their own curricula, which combine the best of secularism and the best of theology. And also evaluations of your own successes. I would leave you with this last challenge that I believe Fedactio and Dialogue Society need now, because you have a critical mass of great success. You need now to think seriously about research which evaluates what you have achieved, evaluates what you are doing, and can provide case studies for others to follow in your unbeatable but inspirational lead. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Alison. Ladies and gentlemen, I think this was a very inspiring day. We got fantastic presentations this morning at a policy level on the basis of very interesting data analysis on behalf of MIPEX and PISA. We had the macro perspective. This afternoon, we really went at grassroots level. We saw nice examples. I had the opportunity to talk to a few people during the reception, and I heard people making these links between what has been said this morning and what did we see this afternoon. And I think the bridge between these two has been made tonight, with the different reflections by the 8 people that we've invited to reflect on today, and as I said, to give us some thoughts for tomorrow. Because that's what I think what we had tonight. Very inspiring and thought-provoking reflections. I heard very interesting things. I heard critical reflections on certain concepts we use. We have to be careful with the unidirectionality in the way we look at how do we deal with social inequality and with diversity in educational context. At the end, Alison said, we have to rethink the issues. Do we have to look at things from new paradigms? Do we have to shift from a deficit paradigm into a more diversity-oriented paradigm? I think theory and reflecting on from which theoretical grounds we look at things and look for solutions is crucial. It is theory that determines what kind of solutions, what kind of policies, and what kind of practices we will come up with. Dynamic interactions between, not unidirectional, but dynamic interactions between the different actors. Not blaming parents for what they can't, but taking them on board as active actors in trying to give maximum opportunities for children in education. Giving space for children's mother tongue, instead of seeing their language as a problem, as an area, seeing it as dynamic capital for learning, using it as dynamic tools for learning. And I think that these issues are crucial, and I hope that you will take them with you tonight and will reflect on it as a starting point for tomorrow.